Hi guys, Mike's here, and I would like to share my most recent game with you, which I just played on January 10th of 2020. Uh, Playing in the local tournament here in Las Vegas, round number 5. My opponent is Mr. Glenn Bidari, who is actually my most frequent opponent according to USCF. We played 19 times, including the later game. I lost 5 times, 2 draws, and 12 wins. Glenn is a very interesting player. For the longest time, he's been like the best player in Vegas, um, and then I moved here and uh, we had a lot of competitive games. Glenn been going up and down. He went all the way up to like 20 to 10, I think. Made a master and then dropped back down. Took breaks, came back, and I always feel like I respect Glenn tremendously. He's a really good guy, and as a player, he's very creative, um, and very resilient. He fights very hard, and a lot of times things don't go his way, and he makes a lot of comebacks from bad positions, stuff like that. So just like last video I've made, I'm not gonna hold any secrets. Um, how I prepared for this game. So I know my opponent. And I'm primarily the e4 player. I know he plays all kind of stuff, Sicilian, French, e5. I saw when he plays e5, he does the Latvian gambit. So if I knew he would play Latvian gambit, I think I would be happy to face that. But not knowing what he's gonna play, I tried to kind of like narrow down my preparation, and I saw that against d4 he always does f5. So then I decided to play Reti against him, and by then I already learned the short and sweet Reti course, which is I think maybe 20 something lines here. Very good course. And by the same offer on Chessable, there is a course called Fight Like Kramnik Played Knight f3, and I had this course in my library for a long time. Like I said, I studied short and sweet, but I never got my hands on studying the actual main course. It's quite large. So I said, how about I study the f5, which is, I believe, about 39 lines. So I studied that, went through this chapter. As you see, I didn't really study anything else at the moment of this recording. And I was very excited, hoping that my opponent plays this f5 line that I prepared for him. Now, a little bit of history. I myself play f5 occasionally, especially in the past. But I don't play it the way Glenn does. I play it slightly differently. Specifically, there is a course on Dutch defense on Chessable as well by Simon Williamson, probably my favorite author, as you guys know. And Simon in his course recommends playing knight c6 against d3 setup. So this d3 setup is particularly annoying against the Dutch because here we're gonna gambit the pawn. And I'm not gonna go into all this theoretical background on what happens if black takes a pawn because I don't want to make this video like too long for you guys. But you can study in the course. Basically, if black accepts the pawn, white gets extremely dangerous initiative. And also, knowing Glenn a little bit, I did not expect him to take a pawn. He's not exactly a type of player that's gonna let you, gonna take a pawn and let you attack him. So d6, and already here I confused the move order. A better move here is to take on f5 immediately, I believe. So play knight c3, e5, and this transposes to the line covered in the course. Let me actually make the board a little bit bigger for you guys. So you see here, this is quite an unusual line. So white takes on f5 first, and after black takes, white plays d4. So it's a bit unusual. Why did we go d3 and then went d4? Well, the thing here is we managed to trade pawns and weaken light squares in black's position substantially. And ideally, we would love to trade light square bishops as white, because that will emphasize the weakness of light squares around black skin even more. And we also want to open up a position as well, because that will be to our benefit as we can get to black skin perhaps. So e4 is a main move, knight h4. And here I was quite well prepared to meet bishop g4, which is a main move, and that move is covered in the course quite a bit. And bishop e6 got me by surprise. Already here I did not know what to do. I was a little bit ready for bishop d7. I was ready for bishop g4, like I said. Against bishop e6, here I'm already on my own. I considered playing g3, knight g2, knight f4, bishop g2, just the same way bishop d7 is met in the course. But then I thought, okay, how can I take advantage of the fact that he went to e6? And I played d5, which I think is a really good move. It's a tempo move. Black has no time to take on d5, because if they take on d5, I take, they take, I take on d5, they take on h4, but then I take on b7 and I win a rook. So usually I expected black to play bishop d7 here, and bishop f7 was played, which actually is not covered in the course at all, I believe. So now completely on my own, and there are a few games here, not a lot of games in the database, and knight f5 seems to be the most popular choice. And black needs to really fight for the center right away, so with c6 undermine my central pawn. Then something like this is a line I analyzed afterwards. Bishop f4, trying to put pressure on d6, d5, queen d4, knight d7. And here I have a choice between going for bishop a6, for example, rook b8, take on a7, take on b2 with rough equality, or I can choose bishop e2, bishop g6, knight d6. I get a bishop pair, black holds the central control. I would say this position may be a tiny smidge in white's favor. And then the other move that the engine recommends playing here is bishop c4. It makes sense, develop a bishop, protect your central pawn. I played queen d4, which on the surface looks like a really good move. I'm attacking his central pawn twice, and I'm also developing my queen to a very active square. Black absolutely must play c5 here. And I could play queen a4 check, which doesn't do much, I don't think. Or I can just drop my queen back somewhere, and then here's a line that would be possible. Knight takes d5, queen takes e4 check, queen e7, we trade queens, trade knights, knight f5, and here I can get a bishop pair, so due to that I perhaps have a very, very tiny edge, but that's debatable. This is an okay position for black to play. Instead of playing c5, Glenn plays bishop e7, knight f5, and now it was very critical for Glenn to play castle. I do win a pawn because knight takes e4 is not possible because of mate and 1 on g7. But as long as black throws c5 in, and the idea is to displace my queen from this diagonal, so I don't have queen takes g7 mate. If I take on c6, that's really to black's benefit if I take en passant, because that develops a knight. And now I'm going to be severely behind in development, so I have to drop my queen back. After that, black has an option of trading knights. And we get one of those positions where knight c6 is a very fancy move, by the way. I cannot take a pawn. We get one of those positions where black has a lot of compensation for the pawn due to much better development. And basically the debate becomes, can white untangle? So this is a line I analyzed. And black is quite active here with rook c8 coming and whatnot. But okay, an extra pawn is an extra pawn, so I would probably prefer playing white practically here. Now, after Glenn did not play c5 last move, he played c5 here, and in this position, this is actually a mistake. And we will see why very shortly. Here I spent 30 minutes on one move. I was really trying to make all kind of tactics work. Like I considered taking on g7, king f8, knight e6 check, bishop takes e6, bishop h6 intermezzo, king e8, throwing some kind of check on b5, but nothing works. Let's not waste time on this line. You can double check for yourself if you're interested, but none of that stuff unfortunately works. Knight takes g7, king f8, queen f3, king takes g7, queen h6, king g8. I also looked at that, a second knight for one pawn. I don't have enough ammunition to get to his king. So I ruled everything out, and then had to decide where to place my queen. Going to a4 makes total sense here, because, well, first of all, queen d7 is not possible, as it loses a queen to bishop b5. And if he blocks with a knight, for example, knight b d7, then I get a pawn on g7 with check, and this is just really bad for black, close to lost. So he must go king f8, and in this here I should be pretty happy because you know, I have a really nice pieces, and his king is uncastled, and I took on e4 here. And then I think this might have been a little bit a premature decision. It seems to be better to just consolidate with something like queen b3, attacking b7, overprotecting my d5 pawn. And after something like this, again, this knight c6 fancy move, White has an advantage here with very active knight on f5, and the central pawns look very iffy. We're going to be able to win one of them, perhaps. So this is good for White, I think. But I took on e4, forcing the following sequence: take, take, take. Now bishop f4, attacking his d6 pawn. So at this point, he takes on b2, and it's kind of interesting if you look at this position. How would you evaluate it? So my opponent thought that he was better, and maybe in some spots he thought he was even winning. I thought that this position is beneficial to me, but I did not find the right sequence. So the idea here is to play bishop c4, and I kind of made this like really blunder in my calculation, because I was counting on this move bishop c4 from far away, but bishop c4 fails to queen e8 check, forcing me to trade queens, rook takes e8, and then I drop my bishop on c4. Instead, what I need to do, and this is like a really, really nice advice, which is applicable in many situations, when tactics doesn't work out, try switching the move order. So we need to play bishop c4 first. Now, for example, if black captures on a1, we take on d6, we're going to take on d5, and white is completely winning. Too many pieces get into black's king. Black king is in trouble. Same thing if black throws a check first. Now we can actually go to f1, which is a safer square than d1, and we're doing great as well. So this bishop takes d6 move is a mistake, and this gives away all of the advantage for white and takes the game to roughly equality. King f7, there is no bishop c4 like I mentioned, so rook b1. And at this point, I felt it was absolutely critical for black to trade queens. And my assessment, it's correct. It's correct actually. So I was very happy about that afterwards. The engines confirm my assessment of a position. The reason is black king is much weaker than white's king, even though it might not look like that at the moment. And if black can trade queens, king d2 is critical, then it's anybody's game. Something like this is what I analyzed. Interesting position without queens, quite complicated with even chances. This bishop c3 move, which seems somewhat natural, why don't we make white king not able to castle, is actually a big mistake. And now, for example, if black plays rook e8, threatening mate on e1, white just plays bishop c4, and white is winning. Let me give you a sample line. Bishop takes c4, queen takes c4, king comes up, rook takes b7, white's up a pawn, white's threatening the bishop on c3, and let's say something like this, we can just pick up a bishop. So Glenn plays queen g5, threatening mate on d2. And this is like the next sequence is the reason why I want to show this game to you guys. Nothing works for white here except one move. Like you can play queen f4 for equality, and then every move except the move I played is losing or much worse for white. And I saw this from far away, this idea. So rook takes b7. The rook sacrifice for a pawn. The idea is to distract black's bishop from d5, which will allow our queen to infiltrate into his position. For example, If black accepts the sacrifice, we simply play queen c4. Queen b3 is also winning, by the way. And now we have a choice of king e8, king f6, and king g6. Let's start with king f6. This one is the easiest choice. Sorry, let's go back here, check. Now, if king f6, we can just play bishop e7 and win a queen. Let's look at king g6. This is perhaps the most stubborn option, queen e6. Now black has bishop f6 or queen f6, and the win is roughly about approximately same against both moves. So bishop f6, knight e7 check, king h5, bishop e2 check, and here after h4, black's getting checkmated from the diagonal. Either bishop f4, queen e3. Against queen f6, I can play knight e7 again, and this is a pretty forced sequence. I'm just gonna play it through to show you guys. And checkmate. Finally, if black king ends up going to e8, then queen e6, king d8, bishop e7 check, and we pick up a queen. And not only we pick up a queen, we still keep the attack going, and it's just really bad for black. So my opponent does not accept the sacrifice, plays king e6. So check out this position, it's quite spectacular. My king is threatened, mate in 1, and queen d2 is been threatened. My rook is hanging, my knight is hanging, and if my knight moves, I lose my bishop too. But nevertheless, amazingly, all the tactics work out for white in every single line. Rook e7 check is pretty forced, and now the most critical try for black would be to take the knight on f5. If black takes the knight, there is only one move that win for white, and I can honestly and proudly say that I saw this move during the game. That move is rook e3. So rather than playing check bishop d3, which seems like why not check, right? Like just let chase this king out. If king goes to f6 and then we move the rook, then king can go to f7 and the king is goes back to safety, and white doesn't have anything there. But playing rook e3 first is critical, because now we're threatening bishop d3 check, and when the king goes to f6, then we play bishop e7 check, and that wins us a queen. Also, rook e3 blocks the checkmate, and additionally it attacks the bishop. So we are currently down a knight for a pawn. If we can get our piece back, we're gonna be up a pawn, and then with his king running in the middle of the board, we have an advantage due to that as well. Plus we're probably picking up the c5 pawn, so we have a very, very large advantage. Here it appears black absolutely must take the queen trade if he wants to survive. So queen g4 check, take, rook takes c3, c5 is dropping, and white's gonna win probably. But at least still this is a practical try. Everything else just loses very quickly. Same thing goes for move like knight c6, h4, attacking the queen. The idea is to kick the queen so I could play queen f4. Here, same thing. So king f6, I gave it, I mean, even though everything is kind of losing, king f6 I gave a question mark because this just ends the game immediately. Knight e3, we remove the knight from being attacked, we block the mate, we threaten knight takes d5 check, knight g4 check in some lines. There is some crazy tries with like rook d8, but unfortunately nothing works. So like rook d8, let me just show you this line here. I forgot to include this in my variation. So rook d8, for example, I play h4, and let's say queen h5 check, and now knight g4 here. If you sacrifice a queen, dreaming of some kind of bishop f3, then queen g5 is a checkmate. And if let's say you take on d6 immediately, and you take my rook, you might think, okay, you're gonna get some enough material for a queen, but knight f5 now decides because white's picking up a rook as well. So bishop e6 was played, h4. there are other moves that win. H4 kicks the queen away, and queen e4, and here my opponent resigned. Why did he resign? Queen takes e6, mate is threatened. If, let's say, the bishop moves away from diagonal, from e6 on this diagonal, on c8, h3 diagonal, then there is knight d5 mate available. If bishop moves away on this diagonal, then queen f5 mate is available. And unfortunately for black, he cannot escape, and his position is falling apart. As you see here, the engine says the longest he can survive here is now 5 moves, but there is a forced mate. So this is an example of how I prepared for this game and used the Reti course to obtain a slightly better position, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the game. There was a rook sacrifice, there was a knight sacrifice, quite short, but I think a very cool game. Thank you for watching this. Please like and subscribe if you can, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.